Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. I am joined, as always, by my good friend, my co-host of many years, a gentleman by the fine name of Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I'm good, Ty, and Oregon and Notre Dame both won, so the show is over.
Yay!
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check out solidverbal@gmail.com if you want to email us, and I guess we'll see you Wednesday.
Shortest show ever, yeah. How are you, brother?
I'm all right. I went Halloween shopping last night for today, this morning, this is Sunday, our Wake Up College football show in which we dress up in Halloween costumes and have a fun time. And
what was your costume?
I dressed up as South Beach Sansa from the Miami, the sad Miami fan.
Okay.
That they've shown in like 4 different games. I don't think they showed her last night, but I wore a blonde wig with pigtails and a little Miami sticker on my cheek, and I wore a bunch of tank tops.
Okay.
And that's what I was. And went to Target to complete the outfit and get some tank tops. And the Solid Fiance wanted some ice cream. She had like 20% of the ice cream, of the pint of ice cream. And I had the rest of it. And I almost never, I mean, listen, you know my stance on milk. I have ice cream like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year maybe. And never this much. And this morning I have a dairy hangover. I'm not in a good place. Yeah.
What goes around comes around, Dan.
I was like,
Just goes around, comes around. It's coming back to haunt you.
I've just got a toxic bubble in my being.
Well, good for you, Dan.
Yeah, man. Start the day off.
Speaking of toxic bubbles, did you see my picks from this past week?
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, this is some week, wasn't it?
It was some week, and first of all, congratulations. I have given you crap about picking TCU to the playoff, but you haven't brought up my Stanford playoff pick at all. And you're the bigger man, and that's always been clear to anybody who has listened to this show.
They won. They won by 24.
They did win.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it was a fun week. A home dog special week?
Oh, yeah.
The Yakos Home Dog of the Week.
On the Wednesday preview show, we talked about 9 specific home underdogs.
Yeah.
Of those 9, 8 covered the point spread. The only one that didn't was Ole Miss, and they had a shot until Auburn pulled away in the fourth quarter. Right. Beyond that, 4 undefeateds go down this week. A bunch of other games that were closer than we expected. As you mentioned, both Oregon and Notre Dame won on the same day.
I believe in anything now, Ty.
This was a fun weekend of college football, and we knew it was a good slate of games. I don't know if we thought it was going to be as good a slate as it ended up being. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's fair. Early on, the day was not super exciting. Virginia failed to upset Louisville. That went to the wire. So there were a couple situations like that where we thought there might have been more chaos. Michigan started off in a very strong, or Michigan State, started off in a strong way on the ground. You're like, oh, maybe this is going to be a 4-quarter battle. But it was not. But at night, it got fun. I mean, Wisconsin-Nebraska goes to overtime. Northwestern gives Ohio State a big scare. Florida State-Clemson came down to some crazy ending plays. Baylor-Texas was a weird finish sort of later in the afternoon. So, yeah, it was all in all a pretty fun day. We had a couple undefeateds go down. A few undefeateds go down, actually. And if you happen to decide to not watch Florida-Georgia, you might be the biggest winner of all. You might be the real winner of Week 9.
Well, we did get a text. So this is the first show in forever that we're not starting with reverbs. We mentioned this on Wednesday, that we weren't going to be able to compile reverbs this week for a variety of reasons. That did not stop people from calling in. We still got dozens upon dozens of messages from people who perhaps have us programmed into their phones and they rely on the reverbs for cathartic purposes only. I don't know, but got a bunch of actual voice messages, a bunch of messages from people who actually did follow the instructions, including John, who texted us, and he said that I'm a student at Georgia. This morning I woke up at 6 a.m., drove to Jacksonville alone, watched my team get beat alone, drove home alone. I just got home at 2:50 a.m. I hate myself for how much I love college football. So he is a Georgia fan, obviously, and he saw
through and through
his team lose the vaunted River City Showdown. How did we miss this on the preview show?
Right, because that's what people call it.
Both schools, both Georgia and Florida, pushed to change the name of this rivalry because they thought, world's largest outdoor cocktail party, which has been around since like the 1950s. They thought that had a negative connotation, so they've now asked the media to refer to this game as the River City Showdown, and subsequently for all T-shirt vendors to print up new memorabilia that they can sell and make a profit off, which I thought was sweet. Thankfully, we are not the media, and when we do get to this game in a little bit, we will kindly refer to it as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, if it's all the same to you, Dan.
It is the same to me. I cannot believe it's such garbage. Can we please not start with that game, though?
I don't want to start with that game. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
I have nothing that I want to talk about less than that game, but we will mention it. We will talk about it. There are some at least fun things to take out of it, I think. Can we start with the other big team playing a huge game from the state of Florida? Miami, Notre Dame. South Florida Navy. What do you know about Quentin Flowers, Ty?
I know a lot about Quentin Flowers.
I know you do.
I'm all in on the Quentin Flowers.
All right, let's start Florida State Clemson.
Clemson 37, Florida State 34. This was a good football game. Now, I threw a surprise birthday party yesterday for my lovely wife. And I must admit, because we are all friends here, my ability to watch as much college football as usual was greatly impeded. I just had too much other stuff going. I feel like I'm a better man for that, Dan. Right. Not just for throwing the party for my lovely wife, but also for not imbibing as much college football on a Saturday afternoon. I did get a chance to see this game, though.
Hearsay, Ty.
Yes. I did get a chance to see this game, though.
Okay.
I'm amazed at how many close games Clemson finds itself in without me, just as a third-party observer, ever actually feeling like they're going to lose. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a total fair reaction.
Dalvin Cook did go off, as we expected. His team needed him in the second half, and he certainly delivered, had a bunch of long touchdown runs, went overall 19 carries for 164 and 4 touchdowns, but really the second half is where he shined here. Dan, what stood out to you in this game?
The fact that DeAndre Francois is breathing today on Sunday is a miracle of life and nature, and we should celebrate that fact as much as humanly possible.
Breathing on his own, no less, yeah.
Breathing on his own. Okay, here's what stood out. Deshaun Watson can still be confused and can still look sloppy early on in games against top teams. He had a brilliant fourth quarter. His ability to find particularly Jordan Leggett in huge situations was admirable. Mike Williams had a couple big catches. Deion Kane came through in the clutch. And Clemson's defensive line, the fact that not only are they great, but they're great in the fourth quarter, that they have the stamina, that they're rushing Christian Wilkins all of 310 pounds off the edge, and it is the right move to do because of his speed and quickness around said edge, is unfair in the most inhumane ways. And the fact that DeAndre Francois was still standing in there and just repeatedly taking the abuse that he was, standing in, delivering passes that should be caught for bigger gains. And we know Dalvin Cook was great in this game. He had an unfortunate drop late that would have done a lot for Florida State, but a terrific survival from Clemson on the road in a difficult situation. And if nothing else, throughout all of that, this game was defined by penalties and just how much laundry was on the field, and questionable laundry, I would argue, as it relates to Florida State late.
I would agree with that, yeah. I was impressed with Florida State, though, because we've asked so many questions about how consistent can this team be defensively.
Yeah.
We've asked questions about, new quarterback stepping in at the beginning of the year. Certainly it took Dalvin Cook a little bit this season to get going. It would appear as if he is now going. It's been a couple weeks running now where he's...
Yes, very much so.
He's been pulling the load for Florida State. And look, it's just a team that isn't as good as we thought, but they're still pretty darn good. All the losses that FSU has so far, I would contend are respectable enough losses that maybe the least respectable would be the UNC loss, but they're still a pretty good team. So it's just a young team. It's a growing team. They're going to be fine moving forward. And they almost beat Clemson. They could have beat Clemson if not for some last-second heroics here on the part of Deshaun Watson and the Clemson offense. By the way, just broadly speaking, his skill talent, Deshaun Watson's around him. You mentioned Deion Kane and Mike Williams and Wayne Gallman, all these guys. They were the ones that bailed him out when it got a little rocky for him. He really got some big plays from the skill talent around him.
Yeah, and the communication or the unsaid communication between him and Jordan Leggett at the end of the game was super impressed.
Great stuff. My favorite text that we got this weekend did come in relation to this game. Someone said, quote, Jimbo Fisher's facial hair screams, quote, I went camping all weekend with the Scouts, end quote.
Oh, good. And Clemson finishes Syracuse, Pitt, at Wake, and South Carolina.
Yeah, so they'll be in the ACC title game.
They should be in the ACC title game. I wouldn't overlook Pitt, who is pretty dangerous and can run the ball and can play good defense at times, especially in the red zone when backed up, and wouldn't fully overlook Wake because they can turn teams into teams that said teams don't want to be.
You mean the same Wake team that lost by 8 to Army this weekend?
Army's fine, okay. Ty.
Right.
I'm not saying
sure.
Wake is good.
Sure.
I'm saying Wake can dictate things at times, and Clemson has struggled against that this year at times.
Right, okay.
I'm pointing out facts, Ty. Facts only.
Fair enough. Pitt, you mentioned briefly, they lost on Thursday.
Yeah.
To Virginia Tech. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this game other than to say that it was a monster passing game for Gerard Evans, who had over 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. 3 Virginia Tech wide receivers went for over 100 yards in this game. Probabilistically speaking, if that is a word, and I believe it is.
I don't believe it is. Is it? Okay.
Virginia Tech now at about 73% of a chance of making that ACC title game, according to some of the quants out there, Dan.
Yeah, hope they improve some of their play calling in the red zone. Gerard Evans has a bum ankle, but yes, that is the story. The fact that he was able to spread the ball as much as he was able to do. They need to shore up some things against the run because Wayne Gallman can certainly get going at times, but I thought the Virginia Tech defense, all in all, had a very nice day, against Pitt on the road. A tough place to play Thursday night. Good job, Hokies.
All right, one undefeated team that did go down was the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Mm-hmm. They were on the road in Camp Randall Stadium. Tough place to play. It was interesting to watch this one unfold. It went to overtime. Wisconsin did win by 6, 23-17. Really an ultimate college kickers moment at the end of this football game when Wisconsin's Andrew Endicott had a chance at a 45-yarder to win the game. It looked like his plant foot slipped a little bit, and he was just a bit wide. Had he made that, I will add, Dan, Wisconsin would have won by the exact margin that I had predicted, 20-17. So I was pulling for him just from that standpoint alone. But the game does go to overtime because he missed. Wisconsin scores. Then he misses, Andrew Endicott does, an extra point in overtime, which could have been really costly had it not been for Wisconsin's defense stepping up when they had a chance to, defend their own goal there for their lives. And here we are again, Wisconsin sitting at 6-2, proving to be a very resilient team. I thought Nebraska played pretty well from top to bottom. Tommy Armstrong left a bit to be desired.
Ty, it was a quarterback clinic in a way that sometimes there are very shady clinics that you can run a risk of getting an infection at. Okay. Tommy Armstrong was bad at throwing the ball, and Alex Hornibrook and Bart Houston said, I see that bad quarterback play, and we will raise you some more bad quarterback play. A lot of mistakes, a lot of bad reads, no consistency from 2 really good Big Ten teams overall, through no fault of Wisconsin's really good defense, got great performance from linebackers. The running game continues to look very good. It was a college kickers game, for better or for worse. And good for Wisconsin for surviving yet another game on their just abhorrent schedule. And in a good way, it's a tough schedule. But I believe now they have Northwestern, who we can get into momentarily, and then it's sort of cruising. Then it all ends. It's all sort of they're over the waves, and it's just they're clear into the water.
You mentioned Northwestern, huh?
Yeah.
24-20, Ohio State beats the Cats. It was, I think, a balanced attack without much explosion for Ohio State. The downfield passing is still a real question mark for them.
Oh, yeah.
The point spread here was exorbitant compared to a 4-point victory margin for the Buckeyes.
And went up late, right?
Yeah, it went up to like 27 or something absurd. And I take away more from the Northwestern side of this than I do the Ohio State.
What do you take away?
Well, just that they weren't blown off the field, I think, tells us a lot about where this team is. You look at Northwestern and some of the teams they've beaten, and it doesn't necessarily present with a ton of credibility. But you play against Ohio State, you lose by 4. That, I think, gives you a certain amount of credibility moving forward.
Yeah, Clayton Thorson was really good in this game, and we talked about this on Wake Up this morning. Austin Carr is the best receiver in the Big Ten, and I don't even know if it's a question or close, right?
He's up there, yeah. I mean,
I think he's leading the league in yards and yards per game and touchdowns, and he is one of those guys, and we've talked about this with a number of receivers where it's going to him. He's the big weapon outside, and he keeps catching balls. He keeps moving the chains, and it's sort of reminiscent of Eric Decker or Tyler Lockett, in passing games that haven't been the most consistent, but he is that standby weapon that just keeps getting open and keeps being so just a huge nuisance to good defenses everywhere. And it's a testament to how well Northwestern has adjusted after looking just like hot trash after that Illinois State game in week 2. Yeah. Since then, I think they're 4-2. Does that sound right? With wins over Michigan State, Iowa, and Indiana. Indiana's pretty good. And Northwestern is now pretty good. They could finish the year after starting 0-2. They could realistically finish. They have Wisconsin at home, and then they end it with not all that much. 8-2 after starting 0-2.
Wow.
That's especially after last year, they go 10-3, I believe. A wonderful series now is happening for Northwestern, and to me, they are the secretly decent team of the 2016 season.
Northwestern, yeah. I think they've fully supplanted the Pitt Panthers at this point.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about more undefeateds going down.
Let's.
Bad day at the office for the Big 12. We saw both West Virginia and Baylor go down. How many tweets did we get from people who were mad at us for picking West Virginia?
West Virginia fans do not like attention.
No, they just wanted to continue flying under the radar. So I'll say this. Look, new plan. If you want me, Ty Hildenbrandt, to use my occult power of reverse jinxing to benefit your team now, submit your applications before Tuesday evening, solidverbal@gmail.com. I will review. I'll select the best application. My picks are a total tire fire at this point. So if there is a chance I can do some good for some enterprising fan base out there, I am willing to do that. So solidverbal@gmail.com, Dan.
If nothing else, we learned that turnovers that give the opponent a short field on the road, it's not a great cocktail for success, Ty. It just is not. And West Virginia was able to run the ball well, but Skylar Howard's picks were just completely backbreaking. And you give Mason Rudolph a short field. You give a team that struggles to run the ball largely a short field and sort of not force them to sort of be a complete offense. It hurts. And Mason Rudolph was great through the air once again with Junkyard Jim Washington. And now Oklahoma State, a team that technically is 6-2, but is a 7-1 team, is headed towards double-digit wins, probably.
Yeah.
And has a week-to-week an even bigger gripe over the theft that was that Central Michigan game.
Yeah, as you mentioned, not a good game for Skylar Howard.
No.
And Russell Shell, our favorite awkwardly spelled first name in college football, he went down with an injury early on and didn't help. Still got enough out of the run game, I thought, but just too many mistakes. Too many mistakes to win on the road in a weird place like Stillwater.
Yeah.
37-20 was your final score there. So
3 turnovers to 0 turnovers, Ty.
That's right. West Virginia goes down. Also, Baylor went down.
Yeah.
This is a weird circumstance right now going on in Texas. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
You know, it was a week ago when Texas had that really bad loss to K-State, and everyone was driving the final nail into the coffin of Charlie Strong. And perhaps if Texas really wants to get rid of him, that would have been the time to do it. Because as we saw, Texas goes on. They beat Baylor. They win on a last-second field goal. People were chanting Charlie Strong's name, Dan. The fans were. Texas athletic director Mike Perrin was chanting Charlie Strong's name after this win.
Yeah.
I'm starting to worry about where Tom Herman's going to coach next year. Is there going to be a spot for him?
I'm starting to worry about Tom Herman at Houston after these past few weeks. So I think what's clear is that Texas players and the Texas administration, not necessarily boosters, not necessarily fans, they want Charlie Strong to succeed. And I think fans want Charlie Strong to succeed too, because it means Texas is succeeding. But if they finish out the season, if they go 8-4, go to a respectable bowl game, I think Charlie Strong is probably fine, especially if they do it with the kind of offense that was on display yesterday. And shout out to the Foreman family.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Deonta with 250 yards, almost 8 yards a carry. Armani Foreman with almost 150 yards through the air receiving. Shane Bichelle looked efficient, really moved the ball almost 14 yards per attempt. And to me, the even bigger story about this game, and obviously we had Texas winning on a kick, which is not something you always see. Baylor's not moving the ball through the air all that well. And to sort of add to that, Baylor is moving the ball super well on the ground, rushing for almost 400 yards, not losing the turnover battle. I think they each turned the ball over once and still lost a game. That is a difficult thing to do, to rush for 400 yards and lose a game. To control the line of scrimmage like that and not leave with a win is crazy to me.
Yeah, a lot of offense here, over 1,100 total yards. You mentioned the ground effort by Foreman. 35-34 was your final in favor of the Longhorns. We got a great text message here.
Mm-hmm.
A great text message from our friend David in Texas.
Nice.
He said that he's a diehard A&M fan. He hates Texas with every fiber of his being, but that he was rooting for them to beat Baylor. He likened it a lot to when the, I don't know if you saw the latest X-Men movie, but
I did not.
When the X-Men joined up with the bad guys to take down Apocalypse. The Big 12's in a bit of a lurch now. You're looking at this whole playoff picture. Doesn't look good for them sneaking a team in there unless I think everything elsewhere goes haywire.
Yeah, Oklahoma's going to have to finish super strong. The committee would have to completely overlook, and I hope they do, the Central Michigan game if that comes back to bite Oklahoma State in their hopes, because it's not like it was a bad call in that game, and I definitely don't want to spend too much time on this. It's a play that just should never have occurred.
Yeah.
So it is a rightful asterisk in their loss column. So yeah, we'll see. It's still between week 9 and week 10. So there's plenty of time left for chaos to happen. And I'm open to everything, Ty.
All right. Before we go any further, are you familiar with SeatGeek, Dan Rubenstein?
Not only am I familiar, I am a big fan.
Yeah, it's the smartest, the easiest way to find the tickets for football games that you want to see up close and in person. This season, there is nothing like being in the stadium for the biggest plays of the year. And with SeatGeek, it has never been easier to get guaranteed seats, the ones you want, for the value you want. Great value. I've got the app on my phone. It's an easy way, again, to shop for tickets. You can be anywhere. You just need a few taps, a few clicks on your phone. You can instantly find the seats for this weekend or any game this season that you might be interested in. Here's what they do. What I find cool about it is they grade out all the tickets. So if you're wondering, like, what am I gonna buy that gives me the most bang for my buck?
Right.
SeatGeek, they'll search multiple ticket vendors online. They'll find the lowest price. They'll give you each seat a grade, Dan, and you will know right there on your app for free where you should spend your money, where the value is, where the underpriced seats are. Which is really cool. They're backed by a 100% guarantee, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. It is a great tool. We get tweets literally every weekend. We get tweets from people who said, thank you. Thank you, SeatGeek, for offering this promotion. We would encourage you, if you do use SeatGeek, please tweet them at SeatGeek. Let them know the same stuff you're letting us know. It's always kind of exciting to see people who are able to cash in on a deal. The same deal stands. It's been running for a little bit now. The promo code is SOLID, SOLID. If you download the free SeatGeek app and go into settings, you can add a promo code. That code, again, is SOLID. After you make your first purchase, they're going to send you a $20 rebate.
Love it.
And it doesn't get much more straightforward than that. So you buy your tickets with the promo code entered. After you get them, you get a $20 rebate. And again, it is only through the free SeatGeek app and our promo code, which is SOLID.
It's so simple, Ty.
It is simple. Okay, moving on. We must move.
Next.
Must move. Let's go to the Pac-12. Jumping around the country here, Dan.
Yeah, I like it.
So Washington and Utah. It was tied at 24-24 late in the game. There was a pooch punt scenario from Jake Browning that backed Utah all the way back up to its own 1-yard line. Utah is stopped. They elect to punt, as any team would in that scenario. That punt is promptly returned by Dante Pettis for 58 yards. That gives Washington the go-ahead score. They go on to win 31-24 on the road in Salt Lake. This one was a tester, Dan. The point spread was 10. You rightly called it out as being a bit of miss. It just felt like Utah was not necessarily the best place a team would go to cover a 10-point spread, even a team as well-balanced and as consistent as Washington. Both teams played well in this game. There's no doubt, though, that it was a tester for the Huskies.
Absolutely true. And you neglected to mention one thing, is that I nailed Washington's score exactly.
Did you?
I had it as 31-21, yeah, and it was 31-24. I mean, does anybody on the internet, does anybody following college football have a better beat on the Washington Huskies than I?
Yeah.
I would argue no, Ty.
You've been all in on Washington since
June?
April.
Yeah. Okay, so I watched almost all of this game pretty closely. It was on the entirety of this game was on one of our 3 screens. So Washington ran 56 total plays in this game, Ty.
Wow.
Utah ran 80.
Wow.
Utah did a magnificent job on the ground keeping the ball away from Washington. And unfortunately for the Utes, Washington is one of maybe 3 teams that is just that efficient that they can still score, they can still move the ball, they can get plays in the special teams like you mentioned from Dante Pettis with the punt return. Myles Gaskin has come on stronger each and every week, maybe since that Oregon game. Yay. And has really helped this Washington team become an even more complete offense. Jake Browning didn't overwhelm Utah, but he was constantly in a position to succeed, had one pretty bad mistake, and America's most successful and most athletic retiree, Joe Williams, again, put Utah on his back.
What do you have, 175 yards? Something like that?
He had 35 carries. So not the most efficient day, but just the workload that he had to sort of drag this Utah team to it being a game with Troy Williams looking underwhelming. Not underwhelming. Troy Williams just looked like Troy Williams. He's not a particularly good quarterback, but he is good enough for a winning Utah, a ranked Utah team. And the Utes almost pulled it out, but Washington forced them to become all right, here's 2 minutes and an opportunity to tie the game, and you're going to have to do it through the air some. And Utah just couldn't. And credit Washington's defense, even without Joe Mathis, their best pass rusher, was able to swarm Utah pretty consistently later on in the game. And Washington escapes with a win, and their schedule doesn't get particularly easier. But the fact that they don't have to play any more games in Salt Lake City, they go to Cal, they host USC, a USC team who at their best can hang with anybody in the conference, and at their worst can almost literally hand the ball to anybody in the conference. Arizona State, who we assume will be healthier, but they just lost to Oregon.
Yeah.
And the Apple Cup, which looks like it'll be a battle royale.
Freaking Utah, man. I tell you what. Again.
That's why everybody wants Kyle Whittingham, though.
Yeah. Yeah. This team, I was thinking about it. This team is Target brand furniture.
Yeah.
That's what Utah is. Half of my house is Target brand stuff. And it's like, good enough.
Target is not paying us for this glowing advertising.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But it's good enough. Doesn't have the premium price tag. Gets
solid.
the job done. Yeah, just all around solid.
Yeah, everybody that plays for Utah year in, year out, it can be argued they understand exactly what they're supposed to be doing on every play. They play with a ton of effort, and they play through every single whistle and every single quarter. And that's why, especially going to Salt Lake City, it's just they're a tough out. They're not going to beat themselves. And that's why we saw last year they get to like number 3 in the country with an experienced defense and an experienced quarterback. It's impressive what Kyle Whittingham does year in and year out.
They always beat you up along the lines,
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yep.
Could have won this game, but a good one for Washington, to go on the road and get this win. They move on now. They remain undefeated. You mentioned that they are going to probably have a massive matchup with Washington State. This may be the earliest I've ever mentioned Washington State in a recap show.
Right.
But it's right here underneath them on my note sheet. So Washington State 35, Oregon State 31. Wazoo was down 24-6 at half.
Oregon State's getting pretty good, and the record does not reflect it, but they are a competitive team, and they haven't been for a few years.
They were down 24-6 at half. They came all the way back. They actually had a 28-24 lead at the end of the third quarter, thanks to a few touchdown passes from Luke Falk, and Gabe Marks got in twice. Luke Falk finished the game with 415 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, as I guess we're accustomed to seeing now with this air raid system that Mike Leach runs up there. But Washington State still looking pretty solid here. Got a little dicey in the first half, but second half they were able to assert their will.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamal Morrow and Gabe Marks are really, really nice weapons to have. Luke Falk made a couple big mistakes, but ultimately was able to find receivers. A huge third quarter. Really loved the halftime adjustments. And not just on offense. Washington State was able to adjust and fix things against Oregon State. Defensively, Alex Grinch has done a super underrated job for the Cougars. I know he's, I think, a Missouri guy. He came over. Younger dude, has done a great job with Wazoo's defense. And the Apple Cup, once again, is going to be huge, and I imagine if it doesn't happen before then, Washington State will be the first Pac-12 team to throw for, get ready for this number, Ty, 200 yards against the Husky defense. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good job by Washington.
All right, let's go. Let's circle all the way back to the SEC and talk about that vaunted River City showdown, Dan.
Oh, God, why?
Florida 24, Georgia 10. Actually, I have a question here before we move on.
I'm ready to answer.
Do I say the state of Florida incorrectly?
What do you mean?
Florida.
You probably do. One of my super underrated favorite things about doing this show with you is listening to how you pronounce words in Pennsylvania.
I can't help it. I didn't know. Somebody tweeted it.
No, you steer into it. This is who you are.
Somebody tweeted me, and they said that I pronounce it Florida, Florida.
Yeah, AHA, yeah, something like that.
And so I saw Mama H a couple times this week, and I said, how would you pronounce the name of the school where, Tim Tebow went and Emmitt Smith? And she said, oh, that's the Florida Gators.
Uh-huh.
I said, yeah, I thought so. What about, where Bobby Bowden used to coach? That's Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at these tweets come through, people saying that the Pennsylvania accent is both incorrect and endearing. I'm not sure how I should feel about this now.
I grew up with floor. You're saying floor.
I cannot actually get myself to say Florida. I can't do it. I tried it. I was doing it in a mirror, trying to get myself to say it without looking.
No. Don't worry about that. It is funny because this is a totally unnecessary tangent, but my fiance is from Chicago.
Yeah.
So she says words in her own way with the A's. And it's really funny to me when she'll get worked up and she's like, actually, Dan. I'm like, excuse me? Actually?
I can't
What is Wisconsin's mascot? The Badgers?
I can't say Florida any other way.
That's
I can't
fine.
do it.
And you can't say Mario. You say Mario.
I do. I was at Mario's Pizza just this past weekend, actually.
What'd you get to eat?
Got cheesesteak.
Okay. How was it?
It's delightful. My first one in
You want
forever.
to talk? Listen, we could talk about the Georgia offense, or we could talk about the cheesesteak you ate. And both the cheesesteak and Georgia's offense got a similar number of first downs against Florida in the second half.
Yeah, this might have been. I can't even say the state name now.
Say it.
It's in my head. I can't.
Gators. The Gators.
This might have been the Gators' most impressive showing on defense this season. They held Nick Chubb to 20 yards and 9 carries, something like that. Mm-hmm. As a team, Georgia held to just 164 total yards. That defensive front was dominant. And here's what's of merit now. By virtue of the fact that Tennessee lost to South Carolina, which we'll get into momentarily, Florida is now. I did it again.
Ty, that's how you pronounce things.
I can't help it.
That's fine. I like it.
I'm going to edit this out. I'll edit all this out.
No.
Get so frustrated.
You're good.
Florida. I did it again. Now 2 games clear of Tennessee in the SEC East, which means
nipping on their heels, though, Ty.
Yeah, they can afford to drop at least one more and still make it to the SEC title game. And, they've got some ammo on the schedule moving forward, but I feel pretty confident, at least with this defense, that they should be able to make it through, I think, to the SEC title game.
Should be fine. Kentucky is now officially in second place in the SEC East. Why, Ty?
That would be because Tennessee lost to South Carolina.
Oh, my God. Why? Oh, you magnificent idiots.
What is going on there?
What's going on is Tennessee is America's LRO team. Their luck has run out, and it's very difficult to win when you struggle to move the ball through the air, when everybody is hurt, and when you cough up the ball constantly. South Carolina was good enough to say, why don't we just play okay and see what happens? Why don't we just be fine and see if that's good enough to beat a Tennessee team that's far more talented? Well, South Carolina did this. They didn't turn the ball over, and they won. Tennessee turned the ball over 3 times, and they lost.
Yeah. This was
an opportunity
this was
at
the
the end.
equivalent of winning a poker hand with a 9 high.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything outstanding. Will Muschamp, though, does have Tennessee's number. He's now 5-0 against the Volunteers dating back to his time with the Gators of Florida.
Ty, you're fine.
I have a question about Tennessee.
I'm trying to answer.
All right, so I'm looking at Tennessee here right now. They're sitting at 5-3. The remainder of their schedule isn't so bad. All right, we've got
wonderful.
Kentucky, Mizzou, Vanderbilt. They'll probably end up going 9-3. That's a fine season. Losses to Alabama and Texas A&M. Those are all logical. South Carolina is a bit of a wet blanket, but okay. At what point does Tennessee take a look at Butch Jones and wonder whether or not they should go a different direction?
Wasn't the best offseason for Butch Jones in Tennessee.
No, it wasn't.
I think he'll keep his job, but I think next year that storyline will get attention.
I'm not advocating it, but it seems like a fair question to ask because this was one of the trendy playoff picks, one of the trendy SEC picks. Certainly in the SEC East, everyone thought, my God, Tennessee, look at all they've got back.
A bad division, yeah.
This did not seem as if it was going to happen. 3 losses, I feel, with what this team had returning is a huge disappointment.
You just can't lose to South Carolina. Even in Columbia, you just can't do it. And that's why I will probably in perpetuity doubt a Butch Jones Tennessee team as a national contender on any sort of respectable level.
South Carolina wins, by the way, 24-21 over Tennessee. Okay, Auburn, Ole Miss. This was a good football game until
mostly, yeah.
Till the fourth quarter when Auburn pulled away, but Cameron Petway, another monster game on the ground, 236 and a touchdown. Auburn's offense, they've been getting better for a month now. What impressed me in this game, though, was how their offense was able to pick up the slack for defense. Because in the early part of the season, all you and I were talking about was Auburn's defense. They've got a good defense. That's what's able to keep them in games. And the offense isn't there yet, but defense is what's going to win it for them. In this game, defense didn't win it for them. They needed their offense to basically go out there and outscore Ole Miss. And Chad Kelly had a game, 465. He set a school record through the air. So it wasn't like this was a lockdown effort from the Tigers defense, but offensively, when they needed someone to step up, the offense was able to do that and pick up the slack. So I thought this was another step for them as they continue to get better.
Auburn allowed 1 touchdown in the second half. Auburn shut down Ole Miss in the fourth quarter. And now you can make an argument that Ole Miss is the NBA Live 95 player who uses up too much turbo, and then the player starts running very slowly at the end of 4 different plays. That I'll listen to.
All right.
But Ole Miss moved the ball through the air at will for a good chunk of this game, and Chad Kelly did a great job finding an assortment of really good, tall, fast receivers that Auburn had little answer for early on in this game. But Auburn was patient. Sean White was efficient, and efficient might even be underselling the job he did. I think it was something like 11 or 12 yards per attempt. Cameron Petway, 8 yards a carry. He puts the team on his back. Quite literally, I think has one of those mini neck rolls.
Yeah, he does.
And Auburn's defense just they adjusted over the course of this game. They started getting to Chad Kelly a little bit more, whether it was, they were complete in this game in the second half. They outscored him 20-7 in the second half, and that is the sign of a good team, that they improve over the course of a game, that they adjust, and that they look like the clear better team. And Auburn, as you mentioned, compared to like a month ago, they are that much closer to, should we have an Iron Bowl conversation about the Tigers?
Yeah, I mean, we're staring down the barrel of an Iron Bowl that decides the SEC West.
Yeah. Which
is always the best kind of Iron Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm. It's fair.
All right. Kentucky beat Mizzou 35-21 to capture second place in the SEC East. Good for them.
Yeah.
Texas A&M ran one up on New Mexico State. Mississippi State in a bit of a weird shootout. Weird shootout with the Samford whatevers, 56-41.
Ty, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you there. There's nothing weird about Mississippi State struggling with a lesser talented team in 2016. Mississippi State, as per usual, got into a game with a team that they shouldn't be in one with.
Yeah.
That's all.
Back to the ACC.
Okay. What do you got?
What happened with this Louisville, Virginia game? I didn't see a single minute of this. What happened in this game that it was so close?
Weird play calling from Louisville in big situations. Lamar Jackson had to bail them out late. They really struggled to run the ball with anybody but Lamar Jackson, which is a dangerous recipe for success. I don't care who you're playing. Virginia was absolutely up for this game, and situationally, the Hoos were good. They didn't overwhelm Louisville doing anything. They just hung around. They jumped on them early, and they didn't go away. They were confident at the end of this game. Kurt Bankert threw a hell of a ball near the end of this game in a big, I think it was like 3rd and 13, something like that, over the seam. So situationally, Virginia looks to be improving, and they went for 2. I don't know if you watched the highlights of this. Love the move. They went for 2 with a minute and change left to take the lead, to go up 1, and Louisville calmly said, "Oh, right, we have Lamar Jackson." And they were able to pull this game out.
I saw Louisville was, 3 of 12 on third down, so Virginia played some defense here. Second straight year, we should add, where Virginia has an extremely random game against a highly ranked opponent that they almost won. And I saw that a fan, a couple fans...
Are you making this about Notre Dame, Ty?
I'm not making it about anything. I'm providing some context here, Dan.
Okay.
I did see that some Virginia faithful reenacted the sad Virginia fan thing, draping themselves over the railing. Felt bad for them. 32-25, though. Close one.
Yeah. Hopefully something that says, hey, Virginia is getting better and better incrementally over the course of the year, and will be even better in 2017.
Speaking of the Irish.
Okay.
And the ACC. Notre Dame wins 30-27. Been a long time since I've been able to talk about a Notre Dame win and feel great about it. But it was over Miami. I will add that Miami has been struggling for their part over the last month or so. But I found these words from Keith Arnold, our good friend. Keith Arnold, stop it.
It's been a while, Ty. Gotta play the fight song.
You're a nasty man, Dan. You are an evil person. I found these words from our good friend Keith Arnold to be very
You didn't see
fitting.
that coming, did you?
I didn't, thank you.
Okay, for Keith Arnold.
Quote, these 60 minutes embodied the Irish season. There were moments of brilliance, a quick start, a dominating first quarter that had Notre Dame fans thinking back to the 2010 post-bye week jumping of a ranked Utah team. But then, of course, there were the next 40 minutes, a toxic brew of stalled out offense, self-inflicted mistakes, and special teams implosions, with the Irish giving away a 20-point lead. I could not have put that in any better terms, Keith. Bravo. Well done, my friend. I don't know if you had a chance to watch any of this game.
Oh, I did, Ty, and I have some thoughts.
So here was my setup.
Yeah.
I had a surprise party, as I mentioned at the top of the show, for my lovely wife. It was at my house.
Mm-hmm.
At my house, were 5 nieces and nephews. I don't know if you've been in that situation, but clearly they get some rights to the television over the adults. Like sometimes it's required just to kind of keep them from acting up and misbehaving. Not that they're poorly behaved or anything, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Right.
So we took the opportunity when this game was tied at 20-20 to put on Curious George for the kids. Meanwhile, my mom and I and my uncle and some others at the party were dying, literally melting in a pool of our own sweat because this was 2020. I threw it on the old iPhone. I forget which one, but we watched it streaming as Notre Dame went to the gun with this one and ended up beating Miami here. I thought the defense looked a lot better. They've been getting better. They're finally getting some pressure. They had 5 sacks in this game and a bunch more tackles for loss. All that stuff is really important. It shows me that they're getting better on that side of the ball. The offense, was fine. Still missing that extra gear that they had last year that I think we expected this year, but it was just good to see him get off the schneid and get a win here.
As I was watching this game, well, first of all, after it was Equinemius St. Brown who scored a touchdown, the final touchdown of the first quarter.
Yep.
So after he scored that touchdown, until Josh Adams had that sort of tying longer run with like 5 minutes left, Notre Dame scored not 1, not 2, but 3 points. And the sort of the richness and variety with which Notre Dame screwed up their special teams.
Yeah. It's really a work of art.
It was like going to the Bat Cave and getting a tour of Batman's armory of special teams mistakes. Like, oh, no, we've got like these laser muffers. We've got this kicking game. It was literally like, look how much we spent on special teams mistakes.
The Bat Cave armory of special teams mistakes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I saw with Notre Dame. And listen, the Notre Dame I'm an Oregon fan. I understand disappointing seasons. Good for Notre Dame. They didn't lose a game in which they gave up like 20 yards rushing, which is, it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame might have figured out a way to do it. Good for Notre Dame for figuring it out. And again, it might be better to lose to Notre Dame for the rest of your season than to beat Notre Dame. So maybe Miami has a good final 4 games here after avoiding the Notre Dame stink.
Yeah, Miami's had a bit of a rough stretch too. They got to get things together.
4-game losing streak.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they've got to win, 3 of their next 4 against Navy, Army, Virginia Tech, and USC. If they have any...
What a weird year.
If they have any hopes of making a bowl game.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay. Where else are we going to go? You mentioned the Notre Dame stank. NC State did lose to Boston College.
No, Ty. No. You are saying that incorrectly. Say it again correctly.
What?
You said NC State lost to Boston College.
Boston College beat NC State?
Boston College beat NC State and won themselves an ACC game for the first time in almost 2 years. Yeah, I had that track ready. I was ready for that. Listen, Boston College scored late. They shut down NC State offensively for the most part, and all the dudes came to be dudes on the road, and they showed the other dudes who the real dudes were. Good for BC on a 1-game ACC winning streak.
So who else has played and beaten Notre Dame from the ACC who may have been in action yesterday?
Ooh, that ND stinks. So Duke,
how did they do? Did they win?
Duke came back. They went down, I think they're down 28-7 at halftime, had a huge third quarter, but couldn't quite come back and beat Georgia Tech.
Okay, so they lost 2.
But Stanford got a little of the ND stink off of them.
Okay.
They beat Arizona on the road. Christian McCaffrey had a nice all-purpose day.
Okay.
Started a new starting quarterback in Keller Christ, who was not great.
No, not great.
He was, I think he got in against Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
But he came in and almost completed half of his passes. I'm trying here.
Oh,
I'm really trying
to
sell Keller Christ as being the answer for Stanford. Okay, here are the big things that we have not mentioned yet. USC, despite trying to fumble away their game against Cal, pulled away finally. I believe I had this margin of victory exactly correct.
Yeah, you did.
41-20 was my prediction. 45-24 is what the score ended up being. Did you see the sort of the ruckus around this game that Sonny Dykes was talking about?
Oh, yeah. What was that?
So the fact that Cal had to play a Friday game the week before and on a 6-day week prepare to play USC on the road with USC having a bye week, it is kind of garbage.
Yeah.
It is like,
I get it.
And we know college football scheduling is sort of always going to be unfair, conference to conference, team to team. But it would be nice, especially with everybody touting student athletes, broader mission, blah, 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 to sort of put players, injured players, tired players, and sort of level that playing field a little bit. They do it for TV, but I thought it sucked. I felt for Cal in this one.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold looked equally really, really good and really, really young and sloppy in this game.
Yeah.
So that's good. And USC has quietly one of the best running backs in the country in Ronald Jones. And I wish more people were able to see him because he's extraordinary and has had to deal with a lot in terms of the offensive line in front of him. Oregon has a quarterback tie.
Yeah, 400 some yards I saw.
Almost 500 yards.
Whoa.
Justin Herbert, the true freshman. Listen, Arizona State with a backup quarterback and injuries pretty much everywhere should not have been able to score 35 points against an average team. They did, and that's okay. I have made peace with Oregon's defense. I hope that Oregon fans everywhere have as well. Oregon has a legitimate home run hitting running back in Tony Brooks-James. He had another 9 carries for 132. Ty.
Whoa. Whoa.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And they spread the ball around on offense really well. Justin Herbert he's I think bigger than any real Oregon quarterback we've seen.
I noticed that. Yeah, he's got pretty big dimensions to him.
He's about 6'6", 225, 230. He can move. He doesn't run like Mariota or anything like that. But in terms of promise moving forward, he's highly accurate, has a big arm, and he looks to be at or near the top of the Pac-12, if not the national conversation of quarterbacks, if he continues to progress like he has, throwing 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
So they won 54-35, I saw.
They won 54-35 and finished the season with USC, Stanford, Oregon State, I believe.
Okay.
Am I missing somebody? Oh, Utah. They go to Utah, which should go poorly, but that's okay. I am more encouraged by Oregon than I was last week. So
let me ask you an honest question, though.
Please.
Very quickly. I'm wondering what can help Oregon at this point. And I have something in front of me here that was just handed to me by our producer.
I'm willing and open.
That might help. Are you looking for the best candidates for Oregon, Dan?
I am
to come
always
in and play. Are you trying to recruit? Looking for the best
I have
candidates?
a high bar for everything I do in life. It's all about personnel. Absolutely.
Posting your job in one place is not enough to find quality candidates. It just isn't. That's what I think Oregon and Mark Helfrich have been doing wrong.
Oh, okay.
What you need to do if you want to find the perfect fit, you got to post your job on all the top job sites. And now you can, Dan. See? We got to get Oregon hooked up with ZipRecruiter.
Yeah.
They have 9 million resumes that you can search through in their database. You can add multiple people to your account, make it the most efficient possible tool for your team to help find the best hire. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with one single click. It's a search engine for posting jobs, find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. All you got to do is post once and watch the qualified candidates roll in to ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface, Dan. So you don't got to worry about juggling emails or dealing with calls to the office. You can screen candidates, rate them, hire them, do it all very quickly. Right now, if you are listing Oregon, you can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. One more time, try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan, Daniel.
I'm going to do that. I'm writing it down right now.
Send it to Coach Helfrich, okay?
I will send it to Coach Helfrich. Ty, there is one undefeated in Mountain West play team left. Who is that team? And did I try to tell America about this team last week?
You tried to take America bowling, Dan.
I do everything I can, Ty. I am looking into this microphone. That's right. I look into an audio device because I want to figure out a way that I can best amplify my message about the Wyoming Cowboys.
Wyoming 30, Boise State 28. Dan Rubenstein, you did warn us about this game. Wyoming won on a safety.
Yeah, they did.
They won on a safety. The highlight was not the safety itself, but the sweet guy from Wyoming doing that Genie in a bottle dance.
Wonderful, Ty.
In front of a referee.
Is Genie in the bottle, is that heart is saying no, but my body's saying let's... Oh, no, it's head is saying no, but my body's saying let's go?
I believe it was head and heart, yeah.
I thought it was
Or head and body.
head and body. Okay.
Yeah.
Because his body was saying, let's go.
I was surprised no one brought it up. The old genie in the bottle video. She did that little thing with the safety. Like she was a genie coming out of a bottle.
And he looked great doing it.
He did.
He really went for it.
Totally.
So in this game, when we talked about Brian Hill last week as a feature back to pay attention to across the country, he had a nice game, but I thought the story was Josh Allen and the job he did at quarterback. And this is a very weird thing. And Boise State has played a lot of Thursday and Friday night games this year. Every single time you look up at the beginning of these games that Boise State plays, they're up like 14-0, they're up 20-0, and then the final score is like 28-27. Like, what the hell? Boise State, come on, play a second quarter, play a third quarter. And in this game, they jumped out. I think it was 14-0 in this game, and they then lost the game 30-28. And I don't know what it is about Boise State that they just have the best game planners, the best first 15 script in college football, but they have failed adjusting to teams in meaningful ways, and good for Wyoming at home. Tough place to play. Cowboys getting it done. Craig Bull.
Yeah.
Come on, Ty.
Your boy.
Get aboard.
I saw you astutely pointed out on our Twitter feed the shape of his head fits perfectly inside the Oregon O.
It's a perfect fit, Ty.
This is the level of analysis that you get on America's College Football Podcast.
Well, I was looking at him with he had his headphones on.
Yeah.
And it really framed up the Oregon O, for people that can visualize it but don't know the sort of reasoning behind it. The outside shape of the Oregon O, so the outside O, is the shape of Autzen Stadium, the outline. And the inside, that sort of narrower, rounded inside.
The oval, right?
The oval on the inside.
Sure.
Is the shape of the track at Hayward Field, the legendary track and field facility.
Is that real? Is this real logic?
I think I'm almost positive that's 100% true.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm 97% sure. But yeah, Craig Bull's head is very much that Hayward Field shape.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. So Boise State, another one of those undefeated teams that is now a team with a loss in that column.
I want to go back to Big Ten for a second.
Okay.
What do we typically do on this show in a rivalry game?
Just talk out of our on rivalry games. I would say we talk out of our asses, and it's mostly nonsense. You got to throw those dang records out, Ty.
Michigan 32, Michigan State 23. Now the point spread here.
Ty, I like that we talked about Wyoming before Michigan.
Thank you. I'm sure our Michigan brethren will appreciate that.
I'm wearing a Michigan shirt as we speak that the Solid Fiance gave me. It's very comfortable.
Michigan 32, Michigan State 23. Mm-hmm. We expected Michigan to blow the doors off Michigan State. Mm-hmm. In terms of the point spread, I guess they didn't do it. I'm not going to pretend that this was necessarily the closest game on college football Saturday.
Yeah.
It was significant because Michigan gets the Paul Bunyan Trophy, I think, for the first time since 2012. It was a closer game compared to what we thought. Like, it wasn't the good neck crack at the chiropractor. It was more of the functional win that just relieved any pent-up aggression. It wasn't the good neck crack that you can hear. It was when you get a massage and it just works a little bit better without that satisfying crack that comes with it.
Right.
The highlight of this game was oddly the 2-point conversion attempt, the failed 2-point conversion attempt that Mark D'Antonio went for at the very end. They didn't get it. Jabril Peppers picked it up and ran it for 2.
To really stick it to Michigan.
To really say, Wolverine Jack, a gentleman, sent us a text saying that Salty D'Antonio is his favorite D'Antonio. Mm-hmm. How much of this game did you watch, and what do we take away from this, if anything?
My favorite D'Antonio is Flirty D'Antonio.
Ah, yes.
But that's an add-on expansion pack. You don't want to shell out the cash for that. My takeaway from this game was it never really seemed to be in doubt from the middle of the second quarter or about halftime on. Third quarter was pretty slow. Fourth quarter, it seemed like Michigan took their foot off the pedal, which is very strange considering how Michigan has played all year long in terms of conservative play calling. But honestly, good for Michigan State fighting back, and they had some bad play calling in short yardage situations and key moments. And Michigan took advantage. Michigan, I don't think, was super dominant on the ground, but they stretched the field a little bit with the perimeter with Eddie McDoom. Great name, by the way.
Best name,
I think he was committed to Oregon at a certain point. But Michigan going with the versatile Peppers in the backfield, running some Wildcat stuff. Jabril Peppers was clearly brilliant at outside linebacker, coming up with big stops and big moments. And Michigan State just, first of all, they looked better than they've looked in recent weeks. But other than that really impressive scripted first drive where Michigan State just ran it down Michigan's throat, they scored 3 points while the game was in doubt after that. And great job for Michigan getting over that hump, and the rest of their schedule looks, with Ohio State struggling offensively, because we thought Ohio State after that Oklahoma game that they were going to establish a bigger offense than they have since. And Michigan right now looks to be, if Wilton Speight keeps improving, and there are moments where I look at Wilton Speight and I say, oh my God, Clemson's going to screw this dude up. Alabama's going to mess this guy up. But he doesn't throw a ball that's great, but he throws it to the right place. He doesn't turn the ball over a ton. They have Maryland, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio State.
Yeah.
So they should be undefeated heading to Columbus.
And the other game of real merit in the Big Ten that I'll discuss, we saw Indiana beat Maryland. We saw Minnesota beat Illinois. The one I want to talk about is Penn State 62, Purdue 24.
What do you got, Ty?
Here's what's interesting about Penn State, Dan. At one point, they trailed 17-14. They went in at half, tied 17-17. They came out and went on an incredible run and just looked gangbusters on offense. Penn State is now quasi-defining themselves as a team that can make second half adjustments.
Yeah.
And Joe Moorhead, as they call him now, Joe Mo, he is putting things together. He's putting these guys in a position to, score some points. I saw our friend Davy Jones from Penn Live did a little bit of a video recap and talked about how Joe Mo went some empty set, and he would wait until the Purdue defense was set, and then they would bring someone into the backfield to kind of play off of that matchup. So the game within the game right now working pretty well for Penn State. I was a little concerned on the heels of that big Ohio State win, the emotional Ohio State win at home, that they might go to West Lafayette and lay a bit of an egg. At first, I thought we were going to have that egg, but the second half team that we saw, I thought was really impressive. Another big game for Saquon Barkley. They're really finding good ways to use him. So it's exciting.
They look better than the teams left on their schedule.
Agreed.
Especially healthy. They were not healthy for the Michigan game. But since that game, so they've rolled off 4 straight. Do you have a guess? And maybe you saw this stat because you pay closer attention to Penn State than I do. The last time Penn State scored 60 points in a Big Ten game was?
60 points in a Big Ten? Probably
60
never.
Points.
Never?
No, they have. And it's been since our time in college.
Gosh, I couldn't even tell you.
Quarterback was Michael Robinson.
2005.
2005, they scored 60 against Illinois.
Yeah.
Was that Spread HD time?
That was prime Spread HD time, yeah.
Prime Spread HD. So it's been a while. It's been a minute since Penn State, and it's Purdue, and I'm not going to take a ton away from this game because it is a Purdue team that just fired their head coach, just like I'm not going to take a ton from the Michigan loss because Michigan's the clear better team, and Penn State was beat up. But it's nice to see Penn State growing in a year that James Franklin was on the hot seat. Is he still?
No.
I don't feel like he is.
Not for now, he isn't. No, not if they keep getting better.
If he wins 9 games, he's fine.
If he wins 9 games, at this point, if he wins 8 games, he's fine.
If he wins 8 games, and that Joe Moorhead hire looks excellent.
Outstanding, yeah.
And not to take away anything else, because we had a great Leonard Fournette performance last week. Dalvin Cook was wonderful. Donnell Pumphrey out west keeps doing great things for San Diego State. Saquon Barkley is a great unheralded national running back, especially with the line in front of him.
Best moves in college football.
And wow.
Saquon Barkley, yeah. He's got moves.
Damn.
All right, we got to touch base very quickly then on the Big 12.
Okay.
Texas Tech, 27, TCU 24 in double overtime, Dan. I believe we had a defensive struggle here.
Yeah, everybody had this coming, yeah.
A defensive struggle between two of the most inconsistent defenses in all the Big 12, 27-24, just 206 passing yards for our boy Patrick Mahomes. Maybe the problem is that he's throwing for too many yards, Dan.
Too many yards. That offense is getting off the field. There might be some merit to that. The offense is scoring too quickly, that the defense is getting run down with how much they're on the field. Also, wouldn't call these defenses inconsistent. They've been consistently disappointing.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. This was, 17 all going into overtime?
Yeah, weird
Did
game.
not have that.
Weird freaking game.
Strange special teams game. Patrick Mahomes, it was probably his worst game of the season. Kenny Hill, I don't think it's unfair to say. I mean, Foster Sawyer came in. Kenny Hill might not be starting anymore for TCU.
I told you 2 weeks ago that he's garbage.
I know. Okay. He's been more garbage since you said that.
Yes.
Congratulations on your powers. But yeah, TCU going to the youth movement. And at this point, it's probably not the worst idea.
Oklahoma wins by 53 over Kansas. K-State wins by 5 over Iowa State. And then quickly, Dan, we had USF and my boy Quentin Flowers over Navy, 52-45.
Yeah, they survived. They held on. They scored 42 in the first half.
Navy also threw the ball 25 times, which is different.
Yeah.
Temple wins. Yeah, Temple wins by 21 over Cincinnati. The Owls now control their own destiny in the American East.
Hell yeah, they do, Ty.
And Houston was up against it here. They were getting worked like 21-3 at halftime, but came back to win over UCF by a 31-24 final score.
Middle Tennessee quietly keeps winning.
Yeah.
6-2, 3-1 in Conference USA. Arkansas State started the season off poorly, but they haven't lost in the Sun Belt. They win over Funroe 51-10.
We are a Blue Raiders and Red Wolves kind of show.
Oh, absolutely we are. The Golden Hurricanes of Tulsa, they moved to 3-1 in the American, and a win over Memphis on the road is a legitimately good win. I really wanted Hawaii to win again. I wanted Hawaii to be secretly not bad because they were 3-1 in the Mountain West going into the New Mexico game, but they lost to the Lobos and your boy Bob Davie. Big one in the Pat League, Ty.
Fordham, huh?
Fordham.
What happened?
Drilled.
Yeah, what happened?
So I had this game on all 3 screens at one point because I just didn't want to miss an angle, didn't want to miss a snap, but Lehigh took it to the Rams at home. Engineers.
They're good.
Surprise birthday party day for solid wife Kate.
They're good.
And they come through.
Yeah, man.
Lafayette, by the way, they're getting there.
Did they score any points?
17-3. They won. They beat Georgetown.
Wow. Defensive showing. Good for them.
Colgate took it to the Crusaders. Charleston Southern did take it to the Nellies of Bucknell, but Bucknell's not all that good this year.
Charleston Southern was ranked 9th.
This coming week, Ty, not great.
No.
Not particular. I don't know how much you've
What's the
looked at
biggest
schedule.
game? There's like
LSU, Alabama, and it's huge. It's a huge game.
Okay.
But the depth of games this week, UCLA, Colorado might be an interesting Thursday night game if Josh Rosen miraculously heals from his nerve issues. Oklahoma, Iowa State, Ames can be weird, but, Cyclones have yet to win a Big 12 game. Washington, Cal could be shootout-y if Cal keeps getting healthier, but I doubt it. Navy, Notre Dame, Ty.
Oh, boy. Oh, good.
Early start. I think that's 11:30. It's a great weekend to not start watching until 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. There's not much. You could take the day. TCU Baylor seemed like it was going to be more fun than it actually is right now. Okay. Iowa Penn State, you'll watch, but
yeah, okay.
It'll be the nighttime games. You have Alabama LSU. It should get unbelievable ratings. Nebraska Ohio State is also there, but not as fun with Nebraska losing. Did you have Halloween candy, Ty? Did you do anything Halloween-y other than having your surprise party?
Not this year.
Neither did I.
No, I didn't.
Just ate too much ice cream and I'm paying the price.
Okay. Well, Dan, I hope you heal.
Thank you very much.
Please heal. Please get yourself in good working order for our next show. We will be back at some point in the next few days. Our show will be pushed out on Wednesday. We will preview Week 10 to the best of our abilities. And maybe we'll talk about the all-hair team. Got a lot of suggestions for the all-hair team.
Is this? Oh, we did, actually. Is this the week that the playoff comes out?
The playoff rankings come out on Tuesday evening.
Yep.
We'll have some stuff to discuss. We'll have fun with it.
Absolutely. Who are your top 4 teams right now, Ty?
Top 4 teams are Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, and Washington.
All right. I have, number 1, Wazoo, obviously. Alabama. Man, there are a couple of teams that I think right now are playing on a top 4 level that I think are a little bit out of that. So I'm going to go Alabama, Michigan, Washington, Clemson.
Okay. Well, we'll find out on Tuesday. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. Sound good?
Right now, Auburn?
Yeah.
Auburn is playing on a level that's pretty dangerous. LSU is playing on a level that's pretty dangerous.
Auburn, LSU, Wisconsin, there are a handful of 2-loss teams that I think I'm interested.
I think Wisconsin's down a level because of the quarterback play.
I agree. I'm interested to see where the committee puts them.
Okay.
I'm interested.
And it should be mentioned, the Wazoo joke is a joke, but they're yet to lose a conference game.
No? Okay. Well, Dan, this has been fun as always.
Yes.
Do follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I gave a Snapchat tour of
I saw that. That was wonderful.
Mama H's, the old studio in Mama H's. So do follow us there. We'll continue to do fun stuff. The Reverbs will return next week. Thank you to everyone who texted and decided to call in.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, as always, for downloading, subscribing, and rating, reviewing, and sharing the podcast. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand, thank you. Catch you all in a few days. Stay solid.
Peace.